Hello, folks. Hello, everyone. So, a Goosebumps video yet again. This one actually is, of course, well, Squid Jib did it. Squid Jib actually just did Shocker on Shock Street. So now I can do as what the title said. Basically, it's going to be talking about the difference between the TV show versus the book. And because we can throw this in too, also we're going to talk about the movie, how they showed Mantis in the movie as well. One concept that they could have done that at least made it a little bit more sensible than what we all can kind of say what they did. I'll go with the episode because the episode I know so much more of than the book. Yeah. It's kind of funny too. It's like, did I read that book? I'm not sure. I think I just looked at it many times. I just looked at it and like, that's weird. And it's kind of funny that always when it comes to me looking at the Mantis, which is very funny. It's like, they don't have any Mantis at all in that episode, but in Monster Blood, well, more Monster Blood, they were able to get a freaking damn Mantis. Yeah, look at the last part of More Monster Blood, the last scene in Monster Blood, More Monster Blood episode. You'll see that a freaking Mantis is actually on his coat. Yeah, wrong place to put the Mantis. Yeah, wrong place to put the Mantis. And well, of course, it's like Goosebumps technically because, well, they don't tell you what happens to the Mantis, but I have to believe that chances are the freaking authorities took the Mantis and took him down and then experimented on him. Anyways, what happened in Shocker on Shock Street episode is very open and shut. You have two kids and their dad, and well, it turns out that they're gonna test out this brand new ride that they're going to have very, very soon. And then they tried to ride, and of course, well, the dad said, don't get off of the ride. Don't do it. And they don't. And well, actually, they do. Of course, they do. And there's lots of crazy stuff that happens. And eventually we find out that the robots themselves were also, the kids are actually robots. And it turns out the robots themselves were supposed to be a part of the ride as well, I guess. Not sure. But there's also some craziness that was going on with the freaking robots because, well, the robots was saying some things that were pretty weird. Like, is mom gonna come? And it's like, what the frick did you just say? It was just like, yeah, he didn't put that in their programming. And of course, well, because it's supposed to be Goosebumps, they actually had to have a nice little twist to it. Well, I guess two, technically, because they're robots and then they turned on their master / their dad. So yeah, and he had two other ones getting ready, and the other ones were supposed to be turned off, but they turned themselves back on. So the robot uprising has begun. Now, as for the book, there's a few things that are completely different. Like, for instance, number one, I don't know, due to casting, I guess they couldn't get a girl named Linda. Yeah, they couldn't cast someone named Linda. Well, they'll cast someone, they name her Linda, and she just has a small part to play. Instead, they just said, nah, we just use the dad. The dad is good. I mean, the dad, we're already paying money for him. So since we're paying money for him already, why not allow him to be in a little bit more scenes than what he could have been? And that's what happened. It's like, yeah, we'll just pay the dad to do what Linda's doing. And there you go. Because Linda has a one little small part. Yeah, that's what that character had. Just one little small part, and then she disappeared. Now, on the book, as you can see, it's like on the cover of the book, you see a mantis. Me, I always, because I looked at the episode and not the book, I was like, that is a bunch of bull crap. That mantis was never in the freaking episode. You lied to me. This cover is a lie. It turns out, no, it's not. Because, well, Squid Jibs just revealed that, no, it turns out that there's supposed to be multiples of the mantises. I think it's mantises. Yeah, there's multiples of those. And they were actually stepping on them. So they're very, very small. So it's like very small mantis, not a big fat mantis that we see on the cover, which the reason why Jake Jacobus decided he just do the mantis instead of making like a ride or something, we may never know. But still, it just had a little small part in that book. And sadly, the episode, well, they couldn't really do anything with that, could they? Because, like, and sadly, you can't hear it, but I said in the one day in Horrorland, is that they had a spider. Yeah, they had a spider in the episode, but also in the episode, there's supposed to be a bunch of ants swarming on someone's leg. But because you can't really tame the ants, there's really no way of actually having them incorporated. And besides, they'll get screwed over by PETA because in the episode, if they put the mantises in there, the mantis is supposed to be stepped on and squished. So, yeah. And of course, as for the twist ending in the book, it turns out that yes, they're robots, but they're also in a movie. It's like, yes, there are robots and this is a movie. So that's the very funny part. It's like, yeah, they're animatronics. It's a movie that they were shooting in. And yeah, just like Squid Jib said, I think the episode did that very well. The episode rules. Yeah, the episode decides to throw away that concept of, oh, it's a movie as well, and just said, no, this is just going to be a guy who is making a theme park, or at least an attraction to the theme park. He needs test subjects. So instead of getting real humans to be test subjects, he decided to use robots because at least the good news is that there won't be any suing. They don't have to really pay them anything. Yeah, that's just that part. Now, as for the movie, of course, there's lots of things we could say about the movie. When it comes to the monsters, it easily could just be said, oh, he wrote the freaking story. No matter what the book's supposed to say, it actually encases and traps a monster. It's like, yeah, it could be something about the freaking Woogie Boogie Man. But it turns out that no, it's about a haunted dance studio. It's like, yeah. So right now we don't really have a good concept of how the books work. But anyways, yeah, out of Shocker on Shock Street, a freaking Mantis comes out, and the Mantis looks pretty real. I mean, it's not robotic. I mean, they could go two routes on this. There's two routes of what they could have done. Number one is make the Mantis robotic. So that means that when it comes to it's supposed to be theme park related or it's supposed to be part of movie and something. Well, yeah, you got the freaking Mantis that's robotic and it makes perfect sense. Number two is very simple of instead of having one big Mantis, you have a freaking large pack or large swarm of mantises and they form into that big Mantis. So that means that every time, like for instance, if someone shoots it, then that means that the little mantises are getting shot off, and then the little mantises are now running about, and you're like, oh my gosh, and then it goes back to the mantis, and he regenerates himself. And that fixed everything. That fixed everything just fine, because in the book, there's a little bit of mantis, like a little swarm of mantis. So if in the book, they actually encase bunches of swarms, a big swarm of mantises, then that means that, guess what? It turns into the big mantis and it's problem solved. No freaking allegations of, dude, you just were looking at the freaking cover of the book and said, okay, that monster is going to be in, instead of actually reading the book and being like, oh, wait, okay, so I guess, yeah, it's like, yeah, Shocker on Shark Street. If you were going to adapt from the book and actually choose a monster in the book. There's lots of monsters in the book. But of course, you're looking for one bad guy in that book. And sadly, technically, when it comes to that one, there is no bad guy. Yeah, think about it. Shocker on Shock Street is one of those books that's really not that sinister in a way. I mean, kind of like Legend of the Lost Legend. There's no one bad there. It's like, yeah, there's no one bad there. How I learned to fly, there's no bad person there either. Well, technically there is, but still, just trying to say, when it comes to picking a monster from a few of the Goosebumps books, it's hard because sometimes there isn't a bad guy. There isn't really a bad guy in there. And Shocker and Shock Street is one of those ones that's like, yeah, if you pick the cover, it's just not going to help you because that will just help the allegations of you just looked at the freaking covers and took the monsters off the cover. And that's not good, man. That's not good at all. But anyways, yeah, that's exactly how you could have fixed yourself. Is just by the little bit of mantises, and the mantises swarm together and turn to that big one, and there you go. There you go. Look kind of like Ivan Ooze. But anyways, that's all I have to tell you about this. So thank you for watching, and if you have any input, definitely comment down below. I'm fine with input. I don't screw anyone or scold anyone or just like Slappy freaking trying to screw me over. At least I'm not doing that to you. So thank you for watching and have a scary day.